I've started to entrust something in my process lately, I would say within the last 6 months, where I'm actually going to my clients and asking them to grade me. I've learned along the way that the golden rule is treating others how you want to be treated, but the platinum rule is treating others how they want to be treated. I trust them so much with my own personal world that I offer them to my clients to help fill in the gaps, to help, just make myself invaluable to them. And candidly, when I show up with a client, whether it be a buyer or seller, they want me. And so they get quickly aligned with my support team. But at the end of the day, I'm the one doing the negotiating. I'm doing the one doing the videos. I'm the one meeting there, showing as much as possible. And that's worked for me.
Hello, I am incredibly excited today to be welcoming Bridget Ramey to the show today out of Austin, Texas. She is one of the top realtors within the Sotheby's International Realty Network, as well as in Texas, and she brings a wealth of knowledge and creativity through social media, creating concierge services with her clients, and all the things that we need to learn and take notes on to keep our businesses thriving. And so, Bridget, before we start, I would love to turn it over to you to offer a more formal introduction to yourself and this amazing team member that you have with you today.
Well, thank you, Debbie, for having me. I'm Bridget Ramey. I'm with Kuper Sotheby's International Realty in Austin, Texas. I am a native Texan. I've been a licensed realtor for over 20 years. I come from a small town in Rockport, where my family was in the funeral home business, which taught me a lot about customer service, about putting your clients' needs first, and really just about caring about people's well beings. I work mostly in Austin, but as Austin has arrived on the global stage, I work ranches and I work in suburban properties. And through this incredible international brand of Sotheby's, I refer out. I've got a collaboration in New Braunfels and now one in Asheville, and I've referred as far as Italy. So it's amazing to be able to wake up every morning and do what I do. And I'm just blessed to be a part of this world of real estate.
That is amazing. And the one thing I think agents forget is that referral piece, right? We think about it when they're coming in. We don't necessarily think about cultivating that as they're going out or outbound referral. So, congratulations to you and leaning into those opportunities within your brokerage and within your reach, which we'll learn more about today. Before we kick it off, one thing I know about you, Bridget, is that you come from the pageant world, and there is nothing that comes easy from that space. And so I know you also come from a very strong work ethic. And so, thinking about growing up in the pageant world, how have you been able to bring that early experience into your success within the real estate market?
So the pageant world was truly one of my fondest memories. It was a huge part of my mom and my relationship growing up. She's no longer with me, so when I look back on pageants, it's a fond experience. Growing up and being on stage at the age of 3 and then going on into a teen and then into my 20s, there's something that launches your ability and your self-esteem to be able to present yourself not only on stage but talking. So at 9 years old, I sat in front of 5 judges in a room with a private interview, not knowing what the questions would be, and I feel like that prepares you for anything. It also teaches you poise, it teaches you camera skills, but it teaches you how to interact. And it also teaches you about winning and losing. Because I did some pageant consulting even after I competed, and I would always tell the young ladies competing, I would say, "Look, this is not a basketball game. This is not a clear winner." And I think in the world of real estate, we have to accept our wins, but we also have to accept our losses. And when we're dealing with clients, for example, sometimes a loss means that we're propelling ourselves into a later win, meaning just this week we lost a house and 2 days later we found the better house. So I just think pageants overall helped form who I am. They gave me the confidence I need. They taught me great communication skills, and they taught me about playing well in the sandbox and accepting wins and accepting failures with grace as well.
That's incredible. I look at, one thing that you mentioned was that, we lost the house today but found the better house tomorrow. And so often as real estate agents, we have to remind ourselves not to get emotional about that piece. And it's also true for listings, right? We go onto a listing appointment. We may not secure the listing appointment. And it is about taking the time to really process what could I have done better or what was the, maybe potential reasons behind not obtaining that listing and continuing to grow from it because growth is continual if we allow it to be.
Debbie, I've started to entrust something in my process lately. I would say within the last 6 months, where I'm actually going to my clients and asking them to grade me. I think I'm doing everything right. I think my team is doing everything right. But I've learned along the way that the golden rule is treating others how you want to be treated, but the platinum rule is treating others how they want to be treated. And so in Austin, we've had a tricky market over the last couple of years. We have a lot of inventory, we have a lot of uncertainty. And so I've started going back to my clients and saying, hey, how would you grade me right now? How am I performing the way you need me to perform? And it's genuine and it's a question that I really want an authentic response to so that I can grow in a way that will better serve my clients in the future.
And do you feel like you're getting authentic responses from your clients to be able to bring back to your team?
I do. I've got this amazing support staff of 5 lovely women who help me in different areas. And I often let them listen on these calls so they can hear how we're all doing. And typically, if I'm in trouble with a client, I want them to know about it so they understand my frustrations and how we can do better. But at the core of what I found is so significant in this business is communication, communication, communication. And much as we as consumers want, when we reach out and we want an answer and we want to call back, that is what I promise my clients. We're going to have steadfast, consistent communication for whatever you need. So, all of my clients immediately get put on a text thread with my support team, and we promise that you're going to get a response within 10 minutes, at least acknowledging the question. I might be driving, I might be with a client, but somebody is working hard to get them a response so they don't feel like they're left in the dark.
That's a great strategy to implement and incorporating your team into that process. If you didn't write it down, write down the grading system, right? That I think that is accountability at its highest level. And if we were in a room of probably 500 people and I said, show of hands, how many of you ask your clients to grade you, not give you a review or a testimonial, right? But grade you, I don't think I'd see any hands. And so for me, I look at that and go, now that right there is just a takeaway for me to implement into my business. I would love to hear the grade because it helps us enhance our systems. Right. And I love that your team is part of that. It's not a, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith said XYZ. It's a you're part of this conversation, whether I goofed or you goofed or we did well and we did excellent. I mean, what a great way to then celebrate the wins and really lean into those areas for improvement.
It obviously brings about a lot of vulnerability because you're asking for critique, but, every client is different and what they want is different, and we take notes on that, and we wanna be responsive in the way they want us to be.
Well, and I know you service not just luxury clients, but clients at all price points. And one of the biggest claims that you offer and guarantee is your concierge level service for any and every client. And you also have a little black book. So I'd love for you to share with our listeners how you continually offer concierge service and what that little black book entails.
So I'm blessed in Austin because long before I got into real estate, I was involved in the community, whether it was through nonprofit, whether it was through event planning. And I've learned along the way that selfishly, I need to be needed. And relationships are nurtured by cheerleading others and connecting people. So when you're at that party or that happy hour and someone says, how would you describe yourself in one word? I'm a cheerleader. And I love cheerleading the people I care about. And so I've learned along the way the best way I can support my clients is being able to offer them whatever they need. They're going to buy a house once a year, once a decade, once every 2 decades. But what else do they need along the way? Do they need a house manager? Do they need a personal car washer? One of my favorite stories is finding a diamond dealer for a client who was about to propose. And so I've implemented this great little black book of people who I cherish and honor. Most of them have keys to my house. Like I trust them so much with my own personal world that I offer them to my clients to help fill in the gaps, to help, just make myself invaluable to them. That keeps the communication going in between transactions. It keeps the relationship going. And I mean, genuinely, Debbie, I care about this and I want to help. So some of it is because I want to help and I want to feel needed. But a lot of it is just making sure that at the end of the day, my clients have everything they need. And when they're welcomed into Austin, because a lot of newcomers are coming to Austin, they know how to navigate the city. There is so much in our city that is grand and golden, and I get to offer that to them. And that is such a joy and such a treat.
Well, it's interesting you say that, and I know so many of our large cities have just continued to grow and change over time, and I, began going to Austin, it's actually been 11 years ago now, I had to go to Austin consistently for work, and to go now, it is a completely different city in that just the development, the growth, the offerings within the town. It's no more just that one street that has all the different restaurants and bar. I mean, there's so many little pockets, and so to have someone help guide you through that as you're making that transition into Austin, to me, that's huge, and then to have that person that you're not just calling because you broke a pipe, trying to unscrew a hose bib, right? You're calling for even personal life-changing connections. I mean, what a great way to have that business. You said one thing that kinda struck with me. You said you're a cheerleader. That is who you are, as the cheerleader. Now, how do you tie together cheerleader and boss of 5 women?
So I will tell you my least favorite role in this world is boss. I do not like having to reprimand or to point out errors, but at the end of the day, I have been able to acquire this amazing group of women who put our clients' needs first. Ethics are at the core of who they are, and when something goes wrong, we have a talk about it, and I was just having this conversation yesterday. They immediately own it, and once you've acknowledged a mistake, we have a learning moment. We all sit together and we say, "How can we learn from this?" Because Lord knows I make mistakes, but what is a learning moment where we can grow? And that's really how I do it, letting them be a part of the wins with me, letting them understand when we fail individually or as a team, and then just understanding that we're human and we're doing the best we can because I believe we really are, and just wanting to celebrate who they are as individuals. I've had a lot of help and coaching along the way, but we're all in our own lane, and yet we all work together, which is just a beautiful thing. And I say it a million times, I couldn't do what I do without them, and they deserve to be celebrated. But yes, I have to put on the boss hat sometimes, and we have to have what my mom would call a come to Jesus meeting. But at the end of the day, they understand and they own it, and we're all adults, and we just get to move on and move forward and do better next time.
And I know those listeners out there are thinking, "Oh my goodness," or some of them are thinking, that sounds amazing. How do I get that in my team?" I either don't want to hold them accountable, they don't want to be held accountable, we don't have the come to Jesus meetings, or those are just too hard, they're gonna leave anyway. How do you go about finding talent and bringing them in and keeping them for the long term?
Well, I think it starts with a good interview and really employing and understanding what someone is interested in. So when I hired my first main assistant, it was so hard for me to relinquish that control. But it was also very important to me that they weren't coming aboard to become me. I'm the only producer, and I'm not interested in hiring someone that wants to be me. I'm interested in hiring someone who wants to be a part of this family forever. And so part of it is just really digging deep to make sure that who you're hiring understands what their responsibilities are and what their goals are and that they align with mine. Secondly, I think you have to pay well. Just cutting down to the chase, you've got to make sure that they make what they need to make. I mean, it's tough out there, and I might have 5 salaries and nothing is coming in, but I have to understand that their value is intricate to what I'm doing and who I am, and I think making sure you hire right, making sure you pay right, and make sure that you check in along the way. I probably at least once a month will ask, each of them, "How are you doing? Are you overwhelmed? Are you okay? Please don't leave me." I mean, the goal is to really foster these relationships that last forever, and I say it as organically as I could. I mean, they're my family. I don't need a lot of social interaction anymore because I get to be with them, and it's a joy. I mean, I could tear up about it, but I'm very blessed in this category, and I think it's also important as a boss to make sure that as we grow and I get more business and we get more business, that the second they become overwhelmed, I help out. I hire someone new, I bring in more resources, I bring in a coach because I don't want the balance to be off whack.
Well, and the key thing there you said is you're not bringing on people who want to be you. And I think so often as real estate agents, we end up hiring out of desperation. I'm certain we have all done it. You may have, maybe you haven't, but I'm certain we have all done it because we hit that point where we're like, we can take no more. This person looks really great on paper. I think they would be awesome. And then they end up wanting to be you. And that I think is just a big misfire in that. Do the deep dive to prevent yourself the loss in the future, and then lean into the communication. Communication right now is such a lost art. "Oh, I just texted them and they said they were fine." But did you look them in the eyes and say, "Are you okay?" And they were able to look you in the eyes and say, "Yes, everything's great." And you believed them, right?
I also think granting time away, like making sure that each team member is getting time away when they need it. I try to never say no to that. There's a balance, and I think they all respect my business in that regard, but when they need to go somewhere, they need to be able to go somewhere because we work hard and it's not a 9 to 5 job, and everyone needs to have a life outside of this world of real estate.
And again, it's like, okay, you can't go back to, like you said, 9 to 5, but you can't go back to, well, you get 10 days off and you get this and you get that. When we as real estate agents, in order to run a successful business, are sometimes kind of like a 7-Eleven, right? 24/7. And it's you got to have those integral people that are definitely pulling your team together with you, pulling the business around you as well. So, all right. So we've got one of your team members here with you. So for those who are watching, you are going to get to meet one of the most fabulous team members that participates in the Bridget Ramey team, and this is Jonah Bear. So if you're not watching, you're going to want to go back and see the YouTube version or look at the video version of this. Jonah is famous, and so we're going to transition Jonah into some social media talk. Not only Jonah, but Bridget. But Jonah, I know that you are the one that helped Bridget become a success, to where she has thousands of followers. She obtains hundreds of views on her social media. She does it through community, through charity, through education, and just plain fun sometimes. I saw the one of you jumping off of like this really high dive that made me really nervous. And so although does the heavy lifting for you, share with us a little bit about your social media path, how you came to create such a high engagement and what it's looked like for you. I would love for you to include as you're going just some tips along the way that you could share that might help us elevate our presence.
So I love this topic, and it's probably my favorite one to talk to other agents about because I think if you're not doing it, you should be. My background, I went to the University of Texas. I studied marketing and public relations and journalism, and when I got into real estate, I knew that that would be a piece of it. But at the beginning of the pandemic, this is when my marketing really started taking next level, and it happened organically, and I don't even think I knew what I was doing with it. Um, First, I got a huge listing, a big trophy listing, $28 million. I would say the first true trophy property in Austin. And we brought in a videographer from out of town to come in and film it. But along the way, as everybody started to shut down and I was alone, I just had many deaths in my family, lost my mom, my grandmother, my dog. And I thought, what am I going to do to stay sane in this crazy world we're living in? And I grabbed my iPhone, no makeup, and threw on a baseball cap and went to an open house. And I just started talking into the iPhone. How are you guys doing? What's going on? If you're interested in wine, my friend at Signor Vineyards is delivering. And I started getting responses and people just saying, hey, thanks for staying connected. Thanks for being real. Thanks for not wearing makeup. I need wine, like whatever. And I started to realize that this was a connection with an audience that had not been there before. Then I did my first pretty what I call the pretty property video, and that really got the attention of some major celebrities that started getting me buyers, started getting me other listings, and this was all from the Sotheby's website and from social media. You get one and you get more. We say that saying all the time. So then I started really trying to think about how can I springboard social media more, which brings me to where I am today. I have a full-time marketing director. She's incredible. We really put our heads together because for me, I'll have a videographer come in and they'll want me to try something. And I'll say, no, 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 this has to be authentic to who I am, or it's not going to come across correctly. And I'm selling properties. I'm not trying to be an Instagram sensation. What is important to my sellers and what is going to sell this house? And so we've really gotten elaborate. We work with a lot of different videographers now. My main videographer is legendary out of Miami, but along the way to get some new creative energy, I brought in some local people. Caliber is great, known productions. And I joke within the team, but it's true. If I get bored, we're all in trouble. I mean, sometimes I do 5 videos a week. And so how are we getting creative? One, to keep the marketing creative, but to keep me from getting bored. Then Kristen, my marketing director, follows the analytics. She finds the trendy songs. When Jonah's involved, the analytics go way up. But it's all about putting yourself out there. And it shouldn't just be about real estate, right? I only have one page. So the page does want, and we've learned people want to know a little bit about who I am. So we let people in some. Jonah gets to be featured. My brother gets to be featured. My philanthropy, my nonprofit passions, they definitely get featured. We try to keep it well rounded to talk about what's happening in the world, what's happening in Austin, Texas, what's my favorite restaurant. But what is interesting to me, hopefully will be interesting to my followers. And that's the goal. Sometimes it's challenging to put it all together because, the more listings you have, they need their stage time, and then finding time to put it all in one. But Kristen is incredibly organized and she challenges me. In fact, I'm like, "Hey, challenge me." And so she'll send me something and she's like, "Can you pull this off?" And I'm like, "I think I can." And then we just go and do it. But what I want to say to the audience is, even if you don't want to spend thousands of dollars on a pretty property video, grab your iPhone and start talking to the audience authentically. Talk about something that's important to you. I talk about what matters to me, but if you ask me to talk about widgets or brake pads, there's no way I'd be able to do it. I talk about what matters to me, and the feedback I get is that it's authentic and people like it. And typically, the authentic pieces get way more likes and hearts than the professional ones.
And I've experienced that as well, and, you look at we can do all the great thumbnails in the world, and the ones where you're actually doing an action or a photo of an action, those are the ones that get the best results because it is you being you. One of my favorite, you went into a boot store, and I was watching it because I was actually looking for boots at the time, and somehow the world knew that you had a boot video, and so I sat there intently watching your boot video, and you came out with all these different boots. Nothing about real estate, but it showed me, "Oh, she wouldn't absolutely know where I should go when I go to Austin next time to get a pair of boots."
I'm gonna
Um
take you, Debbie. I'm gonna take
Oh,
you.
I would love it. It was so fun. You had short ones, tall ones, tight ones, loose ones. Like, I was like, "Gosh, if I was in that store, I would try those on?" And again, it's like putting yourself where your viewer is. I know too with your social, you have really grown your engagement. And so any tips on outside of authenticity in just growing followers or gaining followers of the correct target audience? Because I know we can just go through that list, like people recommend it for you, click, 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 click. But think target audience. So, is any strategies that you've utilized there in order to grow your audience and exposure?
I think what's been most effective is collaborating with other people in the industry. So, collaborating with my different videographers so that they're showing the same video on their page as I'm showing. And then, therefore, their viewers are now following me, which is the organic real estate minded viewer that we want. I think following trends and making sure the music is on key and things like that too. But I think mostly it's been from great collaborations and even with City Boots is the boots that you saw. City Boots, like, we saw some increase in activity from partnering with them because, we're nothing to do with real estate, but like you, Debbie, people like boots.
And that's the thing too, as I've been speaking with many agents, they've either avoided the social media introduction or they've tried it and it's sporadic. The first step is let's get consistent, let's be authentic. Yes, start with your houses and then go add a little pizzazz to it. And that's the key is, follow people like Bridget to get ideas. And that's the biggest thing. You can go into the different AI platforms and ask what's trending in Austin, Texas, or what's trending in the real estate industry and get those topics. But I love what you said. Challenge yourself. One of the biggest things I hear is, "I don't like the way I look," or "I don't like the way I sound," or "That's not me to be on camera." There's so many things you can do to be professional and it still be you, right? Or be authentic and it still be you. And if you don't like the way you look or sound, like I don't know who you think is going to show up when the client meets you, but hopefully it's not you. I say that often. So as you're continuing to grow your business, what's next for your team? Where do you see your next step of growth?
We are really digging deep right now into virtual assistants. I think all of the five key players I have in place are amazing, but we could use some support that's not necessarily boots on the ground. And so we're digging into what virtual assistants could look like. I've talked to a couple of different companies. It's tricky because some are in different countries, and there are a lot of management companies that want to manage the virtual assistants. And so that's what's next. We're also digging our heels into AI a little bit, which is a little bit scary, but it works. And I mean, I have a journalism background, so when I first started thinking about using Chat GTP for a description, I was horrified, and now I'm like, break out that computer. Let's see what Chat GTP says. Way better than me. But I think too, even with AI. You can use it as a starting place, but then circling it back and keeping it authentic and making sure that you don't sound like a computer or a robot is important. Um, this is on the personal level, but I'm in desperate need of a personal assistant. I'm a single mom for this guy, and so we're looking for that too. But the promise I've got with the ladies is that the second work-life balance is affected, then it's time for us to hire someone new.
Well, and I appreciate your vulnerability and admitting the personal assistant piece because that's a step that I feel a lot of top producers need to take, that they think the next step oftentimes is one more person in their business, and they don't realize that that person that could actually go pick up their dry cleaning, help them shuffle their kit if they need it, um, go get dog food, walk the dog. I mean, there's so many little things that happen in our day-to-day lives that not that we don't have to do them, but could be great leverage over periods of time to give us either time back for white space on our calendar to relax and rejuvenate or do more business if that's what we choose. And so the personal assistant is one of the definitely underrated, under discussed, but definitely a step in the right direction for top performers. So as we start to wrap up, I'd love to hear solo success for you, and you don't have agents that are on your team as agents. How does that impact your business? Does it impact your business? And what does it look like?
I think with all of the marketing that I do and when I get referrals, people want me. And so I've had this discussion with the team about, do we take on other agents? And at the end of the day, there is no time to possibly manage other agents. I love to offer what I'm doing and what's working to other agents, but the idea of trying to manage other agents, there's just not room in the day. And candidly, when I show up with a client, whether it be a buyer or seller, they want me, and so they get quickly aligned with my support team, but at the end of the day, I'm the one doing the negotiating, I'm doing the one doing the videos, I'm the one meeting there, showing as much as possible, and that's worked for me. I mean, I'm a little bit of a control freak, and maybe that's part of it. I don't know that it has this great succession plan, perhaps I've got to figure something out along the way, but right now, that just seems to be working well, and it works for the clients, and it works for the timeline, and I can't go back enough to having this support team that lets me do that. I get to stay in my lane because of what they do. There was a great coach. I'm a member of Realm, which is an agnostic group of top agents. And at our Realm Global Collective, which is once a year, we had this great speaker. And he said, listen, everyone in this room makes such and such an hour. Like your time is worth this much an hour. And if you don't want to do these tasks, you shouldn't do them and you should hire people to do them. However, they must be A-listers. And if you're having to assist your assistant, you don't have the right assistant. You are the assistant. And I thought it was great advice because at the end of the day, I want to be with the people. I want to be with my clients. I'm good at negotiating. I want to be negotiating. I want to be the one holding their hands as we cross the finish line. But the only way I can do that is with this A team of support. And so that's just the pathway I've chosen in real estate.
And there's no wrong way to be successful in real estate. As I say often, everyone defines success differently. And so often I'll speak with agents who have large teams and they'll ask the question of how do I go backwards? I don't know if I want a team anymore. I think it would be easier for just me and six assistants. And they do get to that point where you start looking at it going, am I hurting cats? Or do we have something really good here? Now, that's not to say there aren't really great teams built of real estate agents and assistants. I think the glue that holds it all together are the directors of operation, the marketing assistants or marketing directors, the directors of sales, even if it's someone spearheading inbound lead rotation and that sort of thing. So they typically are the glue. And so you figured out a really remarkable way to continue to grow, continue to be successful and do it your way. And that's the beauty of real estate. There's no wrong way in real estate. Well, we appreciate you being here today. We have really enjoyed learning from you. We look forward to following you. All of your contact information, all of Bridget's contact information will be in our show notes. So find her on Instagram, send her your Austin referral. She's amazing. Her team will take care of you, will take care of your clients without question. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Real Estate Leadership Unlocked.
Thank you, Debbie.